Howdy, my friends. Welcome to Lent and welcome into today's video. I'm Taylor Schroll, and you have found the Forte Catholic YouTube channel. And today we're going to be diving into what Lent is, where it came from, why the church asks us to do what she asks us to do during the season, and some suggestions for how you can best dive into this great season that the church gives us. So first of all, why Lent? What is it? It's the 40 days leading up from Ash Wednesday today to the Easter season. So this is emulating Jesus' 40 days in the desert before he went off and did his public ministry. He went out into the desert, which was believed at the time to be like where Satan, it was like Satan's home court, like his home field advantage, right? And Jesus went out into the desert, didn't eat, didn't drink anything, was tempted by Satan. Satan came and tempted him through a bunch of different ways, and Jesus kept answering through Scripture. Ultimately, Jesus won that battle, and he ended up winning the war a couple of years later. But that's where we get this 40 days from. 40 is a big number in the Scriptures, but this is the primary one because this is the season leading up to Jesus' death and resurrection on Good Friday and Easter. So the season of preparation has three primary pillars: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. That is what we are asked to do during this 40-day season. It's actually a little bit more than 40 days because Sundays don't count to those 40 days, but we'll get to that here in a minute. But the three pillars of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. So that's what we are asked to do. So if you are a person who tends to go to church pretty normally, maybe you're already praying. Maybe you're going to Mass on Sundays. Maybe you're doing some of your own prayers on your own. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're new to Catholicism. Ash Wednesday is actually a big day for a lot of people who maybe haven't been involved in the faith to come back to church. It's actually one of the most attended days at Catholic churches, which is kind of wild because it's not even a holy day of obligation. There's something about this season. There's something about these ashes that we get on our forehead where it's a time where people want to return to the Lord. That's what all of the readings are about today on Ash Wednesday. So whether you haven't prayed in months or you pray every day, the season is inviting you to take the next step to go a little bit deeper in your prayer. So if you're praying 30 minutes a day, try 40, try 45. If you're praying 0 minutes a day, try 5 or 10 and stick with that for this next 40 days and see how your spiritual life is transformed. So we have prayer, where we're going to take up something like these extra few minutes. One of the most common prayers that's popular during this Lenten season is the Stations of the Cross, where we are reflecting on Jesus' crucifixion. And this tends to happen on Fridays during Lent, like at the Catholic parish. They'll have maybe at 3 o'clock or noon or 6. It's just one of these times. Check your local parish website. They'll have it there. But where you go and you pray through Jesus' crucifixion, and there's these prayers, and the priest or the deacon will lead you through kind of a meditating through leading to the death of Jesus Christ. We actually have a video version and a print version that you can use. We'll link to the video version here. The print version will be in the show notes, but that's something, feel free to use it for yourself or for your parish or with your friends or whatever. We want as many people to use it as possible. So that's prayer. We also have fasting, which this is one of the more common parts of Lent. Like most people know that Catholics, quote unquote, give things up for Lent. That's the fasting part, is giving something up. The things that are required for us is on today, Ash Wednesday, and on Good Friday, we are required to fast, meaning we have these silly rules within Catholicism. We can have one meal and 2 small meals not to equal a full meal. Does that make sense to anybody? Clear as mud, clear as day. Essentially, it's a day where we are, the word fasting, right? Like our Muslim friends, they go very serious when it comes to fasting during Ramadan. They don't eat anything or drink water from sun up to sundown. I had some friends like that in high school, and I was just very impressed. And the church here is like, you could have a full meal and 2 snacks that don't equal a full meal. I'm like, okay, I think I could handle that, right? But then also on Fridays during Lent and on Ash Wednesday and that Good Friday as well, we are asked to abstain from meat, to not eat meat. Like this morning, I had a potato and egg taco. A lot of cheese-based meat and cheese. These sorts of things are what Catholics tend to eat on Fridays during Lent and on today, Ash Wednesday. So there's also this idea of choosing something else to give up. Like there's some popular ones. People give up chocolate or ice cream, or one year I gave up video games on my phone. One year I gave up eating out at restaurants and that sort of thing. So giving something up, and why do we do that? It's not just to punish ourselves, right? It is this season of penitence, returning to the Lord, rending our hearts to God, and saying that, like, God, my relationship with you is more important than chocolate or ice cream or whatever it is. But it's also this idea of, if we can say no to something that is good, like chocolate or ice cream or fast food or whatever, if we can say no to those things, then it's strengthening our will, strengthening our spiritual muscles to be able to say no to things that are actually bad, like the sins in our life, right? So that's why we do it. It's to strengthen our will, our willpower, to be able to say no to things that aren't good for us. One note there is that in my lifetime, another big thing is to choose something to add on to do. You're not required to give something else up other than what the church prescribes on Fridays and on Ash Wednesday. But sometimes people are like, maybe I've been slacking in my prayer, and I'm going to pray the liturgy hours every day, or I'm going to do Lectio Divina every day, or I'm going to add something to, right? So whether it's for you, whatever you decide, whether you're going to give something up or add something on, I just suggest doing at least one of those. Some people do both, right? But at least one of those, so that you have like a Lenten penance, a Lenten observance that you are committed to, that you're going to do throughout this Lenten season. And the third pillar is almsgiving, is giving back, donating, primarily money, right? Giving money to your parish or giving money to other organizations. A lot of people around this time, because we're fasting, people like to give money to places that feed people, like for somebody that's homeless or just down on their luck. People like to donate to shelters and that sort of thing as well. But it's not a requirement anymore. But like the good idea within Catholicism year round is to give about 10% of your income. So just like we talked about with prayer, increasing 5 to 10 minutes in this season of Lent, the season of penitence. If you're giving nothing to your parish, maybe start giving $5, $10, $20 a month, right? If you're already giving to your parish, that amount or more, maybe just add another little percentage point, right? Like if you're giving 3% of your income, maybe give 4 in this Lenten and that sort of thing, right? To give sacrificially. So giving to your parish or other organizations that you enjoy. Forte Catholic is a nonprofit. If you want to donate to us, we'd be thrilled by that at fortecatholic.com/donate. But that is besides the point. Let's walk through a couple of other things. We're going to take a step back for a moment from Lent so that we can zoom in on it here in a minute. But there are these things called the precepts of the church that a lot of people aren't familiar with. And this is like the bare minimum requirements of what it means to be a Catholic. And a couple of them apply here to this Lenten season. One of them is that you should go to Mass every Sunday. I think most people know that that's a requirement of Catholics. And, some of us may fall short every now and then, but especially here in this Lenten season, going to Mass every Sunday. But also, one of the precepts of the church is that you should go to confession once a year. Confession, I think, is one of the most underutilized sacraments in the church. It's a beautiful way to reconnect with the Lord, to go and tell the Lord that you're sorry for your sins and to be reconciled to Him, which is what this Lenten season is all about. So one of the precepts is to go to confession at least once a year. And then also another one is to receive the Eucharist at least once during the Easter season. So there's some timed things. Easter season comes right after this Lenten season that we're in. So a lot of times what parishes will do during Lent is they'll have penance services, or they'll have extra hours of confession times so that people can fulfill this precept of the church, this requirement of Catholics to go to confession at least once a year. And if you go to confession, then you're free to receive communion, and then you can do that in the Easter season. So that's another big part of this Lenten season here. So we're doing the bare minimum, right? We have these fasting rules, but obviously we want to be doing a little bit more than the bare minimum. That's where we're trying to just increase a little bit throughout this Lenten journey. A couple of major dates. Today is the major date. Why do we get ashes on our forehead? It's this old symbol of that we are, the sackcloth and ashes, right? That we are in this time of penitence where we're returning our hearts and our minds and our spirits to the Lord. A couple of other big dates. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but that Sundays actually aren't counted in the 40 days of Lent. So Lent every year is actually about 46, 47 days, depending on how the weeks pan out. But on Sundays, you have two options, right? Because it's not Lent. Like, even though it says like this is the first Sunday of Lent, second Sunday of Lent, it's not counted in those 40 days. So you have two primary options, and I think both can be good. Just kind of depends on what you would like to do. But when I was a kid, I didn't know there was two options. I thought there was only one. And so if you give something up, like chocolate, all I was ever taught was that you give up chocolate for all of Lent. But another teaching of the church is that Sundays are always days of celebration. That Sundays, because we are living in a time after Jesus has resurrected from the dead, Sundays are always a celebration, are always us experiencing Easter. We're experiencing the risen Christ on Sundays, yes, even in this Lenten season, right? So what some people will do is they will give up whatever they're giving up, social media or chocolate or candy or whatever. But on Sundays, they'll have a little treat of candy or 30 minutes, an hour or something on social media to check in. And that's like the celebration day, right? So just know that you have those two options as a Catholic experiencing this Lenten season. Some other big dates, and we'll actually release another video here in this series leading into Holy Week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on that. But the big dates, all of this is leading to Holy Week, which starts with Palm Sunday, which is the week before Jesus was crucified. He was led into Jerusalem on a donkey, and they were hailing him as the king. And a few days later, just like all of us have said, they were saying, "Crucify him, crucify him." So we have Holy Thursday, which is the Last Supper, the institution of the priesthood. Good Friday, where Jesus dies, and then Easter, which is celebrated on Sunday, or the Saturday night vigil, celebrating his resurrection. Again, we'll have a video here in just a few weeks to prepare us for that week whenever it comes. Make sure that you hit subscribe. Some other things to check out here in this Lenten season is one I mentioned earlier, the Stations of the Cross you might want to check out and pray along with us. Also, if you liked this video and you want more like it, not only subscribing, but also checking out our Catholic Foundation series. I'll link it right up here. This is like the top 10 things that every Catholic needs to know. It's a series that we run here for our parish, and we have now shared it with you on our YouTube channel here. So I hope that helps you out. I hope that you have a beautiful Lenten season. I'll be praying for you. Please pray for me. Share this with your friends, whether they're super diehard Catholic or they're just trying this Lenten thing out. I hope that this video was helpful for you. God bless. Have a great Lent, and we will see you very soon.